on pace, and your work is really, really impressive. So Mr. Keller and I were talking about giving you a project before he moves you on to the next project. And I developed this with the advanced students a few weeks ago. This is the Twisted Vessel Vase or Box project. It's a really cool way to use the extruder that you may not have used before. So most of you have been using coils in your extruder. This is actually a square die, and I am also learning how to use the extruder, so it's really exciting for me because I like toys. But it's really cool. So what it does, it has these little metal separators in it, and there's so much pressure exerted when you put clay into the extruder that it actually joins the pieces back together. So it creates a hollow form. And the way that you get it to look like it's twisted is you physically have to move the clay when it's coming out of the extruder. So instead of it being a coil that comes out in one solid form, you are moving it and making it into a kind of kinetic exploration of the media. So my goals for you are to learn how to use the square extruder. I have it set up on the left side, so you'll be able to make them as long or as short as you want. I would advise starting with short and moving your way up because this mechanic is an imperfect creature and she had to redo it 7 times. Wedging your clay is the best thing you can do for this project. Because if you don't, you'll have really awful little air pockets and your clay will rip and you'll cry. Maybe you won't cry, but I cried. So I want you to produce a clay twisted vessel developed from any plans that you might have. So Devin and I were talking yesterday about some surface treatments you could do. He's thinking about incorporating music or lyrics or written word into his project. And there really isn't a restriction on how you treat the surface. You don't have to keep it uniform or square. You can add things onto it. You can explode it. You can make more than one and connect them together. I'm giving you the option to do really whatever you want. But you will have pattern, texture. Mr. Keller and I were both saying, stamps, you made stamps, you should use them. I did a lot of hand carving on mine because I'm a crazy meticulous detail freak. So some of you may be into that. Some of you may just want that nice textural quality to your work. But construction variations were what I was just talking about. So you can add your stamps, you can add pieces onto it. You can expand it, you can make it small, you can make them connect in a different way. It's completely up to you. It's a really limited, fun project. I had a lot of fun with it. Again, I did cry, but sometimes that happens. One vessel needs to include a lid. So some of these that I've seen in other arenas have a lid that can be removed, so like a box vessel. Or this one could be made into a soap pump. I've seen those online too. And one has to include a foot. So this is my sad foot. Do not use this as your example because it's bad. But you have the opportunity to make any kind of foot you want on your piece, and a lot of you have some really creative ideas already. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with for a more simple project that can be expanded upon in many different ways. As always, taking time to develop your idea and complete the project is very important because that means you're taking the time to think about it, you're not just rushing through it, which is easy to do with an easier project. You'd be like, oh, well, Ms. Koenig told me to use the square extruders, now I'm done. And I'm like, no, you need to make it nice. I want to be impressed by your work. I don't want to be like, it's a nice square, moving on. And skillful use of the art tools and media. You've learned a lot of skills already just doing these paddle bases and your other projects. So incorporate that into what you're doing. Think about how you can manipulate your clay before it hardens to a point where you can't change it anymore. You could use a round paddle and make these rounded at the bottom. You can make them rounded at the top. You can use paddle textures. I encourage you to experiment as much as possible. The great thing about this project is you can get a lot of pieces out of a small amount of clay. I just wanted to provide you with lots of examples. This is actually an artist's studio, so this is the before, and this is after the glaze firing, and I believe they did painted on glaze, which is something maybe you want to experiment with. This idea is the same basic principle, which is using an extruder and then cutting away from the surface, creating negative spaces that wouldn't otherwise be there, and making patterns and shapes. And these are some of your advanced student peers' work. So to give you you some inspiration. You did a really good job. Don't be all bashful and shy. You guys rocked this project. I am so excited to see what the rest of the class has come up with. But think about how you can make negative spaces in your positive clay surface. Think about how you can add pieces onto your projects that are already existing. Textures, patterns, all that good stuff. Okay? So now, we'll go over to the extruder and I'll show you how this crazy thing works. So everybody up. So again, when we're all over here, show you my clay child. Wedge more clay than you think you're going to need because like I said, you can get a lot out of a little. I wedged this so hard today. It's very nice. I'm very proud. So take your chunk of clay. I have this extruder set up for you already, so all you need to do is pop in your clay like this. Then I need a volunteer to push this down, and then I'm going to twist it. So this is a teamwork project. Anyone?
Go, Maggie.
All right, Maggie. Thank you so much. Okay, go.
I'm going.
All right. So one thing I've already done wrong. It's actually on the presentation over there. Make sure that your extruder is in place correctly because you will lose a lot of your nice quality of piece if there's clay just coming out the top, but this will work for now, for demonstration purposes. We're not perfect. So as it's coming out, I'm turning it gently to create movement. Okay, that's good. And if you could grab that rope cutting tool for me on the table, please. Yeah, see, I made frosting.
You're on the video, Maggie.
You're famous. Okay, so using your cutting tool, carefully drag it across. And then you have a twisty bit. Okay? It's not. But if I had put both of my pieces of clay in there, I would have one that's twice as big. So again, make as many as you want. 2 are the required for this project, but the more the merrier, and they're pretty fun and kind of quirky like mechanic. So I appreciate you working with me so well, and I look forward to what you have to come up with. So keep working on your vases. If you need help with this project, there's clay over here already wedged.